Twitter account. So, but I try to like tweet at some of the people at Xbox and just say like, I know you guys don't care about physical and console things and that, but if you guys want to grow in this market, you have to start putting your stuff in front of people more often. I get ads all the time for PlayStation, Nintendo games. I don't know if it's like a legal thing, but even in the stores, it's just the Game Pass thing always kind of bothered me because like you just see Game Pass. And I don't think that people really want to invest into a subscription gaming service as much as they're banking on. I think it should be an add-on to the Xbox console and platform.
Yeah,
But
not the main
putting
focus.
putting that they're putting Game Pass as the main focus, and that's a reason why I think it helped them in the short term, but when I started seeing them going so heavy into it to the point where you don't even see Xbox anymore, you just see Game Pass, I'm like, I don't know how this long term is going to work out because, like someone pointed out earlier, they projected their numbers to be way higher than they were. And it's a little stagnant. So I think
Yeah,
that's
I feel you,
I
brother.
low-key agree with that.
Yeah, no, and like in reality, but I do think that in Japan specifically, I do think that there's and I mean I don't have proof of that like right now, but I do think, and I think I've read somewhere that there is a little bit of artificial decrease there, just because like the government does restrict Xbox. I do think that they have some legal restraints that in reality that I think the Japanese government puts in there.
but
But
see,
I fully agree. I fully agree. I
I, I
mean,
I I agree with that, right? I do agree with that, and that's what I thought too. But I still think from because everyone has a phone, everyone's on social media, everyone's on the internet. Even when I see how they market to the to when they use like influencers here and like there's ways in today's time through social media and marketing that you can get the appeal of a lot of people
I agree.
without going the traditional route. But
Yeah.
I see some of the things they do and I'm like, okay, like are they purposely trying not to um I don't know. It's just very weird and strange. And yeah, like I think the people here as well, they get kind of confused with the messaging. So and
Yeah.
even right now, this whole space is about us confused about the direction the platform's going
100%.
in.
Yeah, dude.
So
Like, I fully agree with you. In reality, like the whole problem Xbox has had this entire time is just how confusing it is and how not straightforward it is. But anyways, man, let's give some time to I think
thank
it
you.
was Game Pass Tracker
And the back and forth. I just want to
and
add that.
Ahmed. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Game Pass
Yeah.
Tracker and then Ahmed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say, you mentioned how you see Game Pass with the Xbox logo, but not the word Xbox anymore. I mean, they've been slowly rebranding, and that's why I said earlier that, for the past 3 years, I've been kind of thinking that they're going to be shooting for Game Pass like all the way in, um, at any cost. Because if you look and I do believe whether it's Xbox, and I do believe it will be Xbox, just because of their position as a company across all industries, they're very vertically integrated to be the best fit to pull that off. And that's I think what is upsetting everyone. Even though it's a bunch of rumors and reports so far, I don't believe that based on some of the people, including people in here right now that reported that, wouldn't put the reputation on the line unless there was some truth behind it. But I mean, they've
Yeah,
been. Go ahead.
to that point, I was just going to say about the whole them going all on in Game Pass. So interesting. One of the emails from the FTC case, Phil actually was speaking about this, and I've actually got it in front of me. He said, from a strategy perspective, I believe in our trade-offs for cloud and content in gaming over console volume. I would obviously love to invest in all unconstrained, but I completely support the trade-offs we are currently making.
I
Yeah.
agree, but I just feel like, okay, you guys go all in with Game Pass. That's great. But just don't make the people who've been riding with your
Well,
platform for however long, I don't feel like you
well,
need
think
to
about this,
alienate.
brother. Does
Oh, okay,
Spotify
okay.
sell CDs?
I don't think they ever started selling
No,
CDs
no,
though.
no, they didn't. But the point is that like all industry, and now no one's starting a CD selling business. They're
Right,
lucky they didn't. The Xbox is lucky they were in the market before it already had turned into a subscription model. What they're
right.
trying to do is get first movers advantage, is what it's called, and first to
Yeah,
market advantage. Even though there were other people in the market, they're being perceived as first to market because of how big their brand is compared to other people who have tried to do so and are still trying to do so in the past and present. And
yeah,
so they're trying to capitalize on that. And it's been going pretty well. And I do think it's a little early to market. I don't think consumer readiness is there. And I do think there is a lot of behind the doors talks going on. For example, them not communicating at all and pulling physical games out of all the stores. Now, you have to keep in mind most consumers, I mean, your average gamer is around 35 years old. Your average gamer's, a PC or mobile gamer,
right,
and probably isn't on X like we are in a spaces
right.
for multiple hours. I mean, it's 2:49 fucking a.m. and I'm in a spaces talking about video games. So that's not your average gamer. That said, um, excuse me. Oh, had heartburn. That said, I I think that them pulling all the physical games, and literally getting rid of all, if not most, of their physical staff, I believe it was all, is either reminiscent of them trying to force one of two things, or both, them trying to force the market that way a little bit faster, despite the fact that they don't have the market power to do that themselves, or more than likely, it's them having negotiations with companies like Sony and Nintendo and trying to figure out how the hell to get Game Pass
Oh,
onto that large console install base, because someone in here talked about, hey, why would Xbox ever want to get rid of their 30 million gamers they have? And I'm assuming he was talking about Game Pass subscriptions, unless he was talking about Series X and S sales.
that
I'm unsure.
I agree. I agree. Just one small point to that. It's one of those things that what happens whenever you're because yeah, the core audience of Xbox is on X, on Twitter, watching YouTube content. The consensus that I'm seeing right now is a lot of people do not trust the long term, and they don't have as much faith as we used to have in Xbox. So when you trade the loyalty and the core audience for, let's be honest, even with subscription services, sometimes you subscribe for a month, sometimes you don't, sometimes you just get a free trial. Whenever you trade that for what I'm just going to say is like fickle fans, you know how like sometimes people can be called fickle fans. I just don't see the reasoning behind them
Well, the
trading
reasoning's
off
the same it
something
always
with.
is. It's money. They did a math problem, and that math problem worked a lot better than them taking third place or fourth place in the video game market, because they lost the digital race from
Yeah, but
2013 to 2020.
they got to the point they're at now because of the core fan base, like the people in this space are on Twitter. They didn't get there by solely depending on this strategy they're going forward with.
I
They
think they
they
didn't start rebuilding their reputation until they started talking about Game Pass. And in fact, until today's news, um, I think that Xbox's personality, whether it be on Twitter from a community management standpoint, whether it be from a leadership communication standpoint, and let's leave Activision Blizzard out of this because they literally just got acquired, but soon enough. And from a video game lineup standpoint, I think that people, at least for the last 3 to 5 months, have looked at the brand rather positively. Of course, today's news is such, despite the fact we don't know the finer details, it is shaking a lot of people up, and rightfully so, because a lot of people have a lot of emotional attachment to a system that they've been playing since. For me, I've been playing since I got my Xbox 360 on my birthday. It came out on my birthday in 2005, and I've been playing Xbox ever since. So even for me, someone who plays on all systems, I'm like, it's a weird time.
Yeah.
I think the biggest point, and this is the last thing I want to say. The biggest point is that someone like me who doesn't own a PlayStation 5 now looks at that PlayStation 5 as being more enticing because now I'm aware, and based on this rumor, let's say it is true, that I'm aware that certain games that are only on my platform currently now of choice will be going to a platform that offers things that, yeah, if I'm being honest, I am interested in. And I just feel like they're creating more value for other platforms, and that's just the main thing I'm looking at, so
I have
yeah.
a question for you. It's just because I'm purely curious, right? So it's not a gotcha or anything like that. I genuinely am curious for everyone in this room because I have to admit, like, as someone who's had every Xbox, this news, it's not like, because I've heard some people speak in the sense that, oh, they're just going to get rid of their Xbox. But for me, the value proposition of Game Pass is still there, right? Like, okay, the games go to PlayStation. I'm still not going to buy them on my PS5, if I'm honest. I'd rather get them on the subscription service. Like, why would I buy the game if I have the sub and I got in quite cheap with the Xbox Live Gold upgrade thing? So I'm set. So for you, is Game Pass not enough of a draw, and would you consider moving over platforms now, or is Game Pass as a value proposition still sufficient?
I think that with them sparking the curiosity even more to go to another platform, that could potentially sway me. And Game Pass to me personally, like, it's good, but it's one of those things. I can buy the games if I want. I can wait for a sale. I have a PC. I don't necessarily need to be
Fair.
on Game Pass. Like, I don't need to game on Game Pass. I personally do it as a choice. So with me seeing certain directions they're going in, and yeah, we do have an attachment to the Xbox brand for people who are on the platform. If I feel like, me as someone who I got on Game Pass back whenever like State of Decay 2 first came out, right? So like I've been on Game Pass and I've seen it grow over the years.
But what about with the addition of all the extra studios, right? Because
Yes.
the Microsoft today is very different from the Microsoft in 2000.
Well,
So if
yeah.
the first party release,
Well, it's funny. It's funny that we're spending so much time talking about Game Pass because ultimately, like, if they start putting games on other platforms, that's absolutely gonna decrease console sales and absolutely gonna decrease Game Pass subs. So I literally don't know what
That's
these guys are
yeah,
doing.
that's what I'm getting at, because like
So much invested
the
in Game Pass only to
ecosystem
like.
builds. Oh, go ahead.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
It's funny, but anyways, let's keep it moving. Ahmed and then Alucard.
Thank you
Ahmed, go.
guys.
To thanks again. To kind of chime into all of this again, I don't think entirely that subscription sales would decrease. I agree that console sales would increase, but the reason I think subscription sales won't decrease is because Game Pass, from what it's being displayed as, it's going to be Xbox Live. It's supposed to be the all-in-one subscription. So when you're going to buy an Xbox and you're going to go play an online game, it's almost as if you're naturally going to have Xbox Game Pass already. And I think that's the selling point. But I think the issue with it is that there's too many variations of everything going on in the Xbox brand. Like what I was mentioning earlier about, just the naming from 1S, 1X, Series X, Series X. Then you got Game Pass Core, Ultimate, Game Pass PC, Xbox Live. And that's a lot. That's a lot for a casual, and it's just a lot to look through people. And then you got, let's not forget, Game Pass Family. So that's a whole nother one. And then you got xCloud on top of that, which is Game Pass, but it's cloud. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on with the verbiage and just the titles of everything that's happening there. But I believe with the games going to the other consoles, if they do go, that it will increase both the subs and the console sales as Game Pass starts to merge into the core product of having Xbox Live, and then getting an X. The idea is you get an Xbox out the box, you can play online, and you have access to over 100 games, and you can get it at a budget friendly price. That's like the selling point of Xbox, and that's the selling point of Game Pass. And then you add in all the new acquisitions that have happened now. Imagine being able to get Xbox for $200, and you can play online with your friends. And if Call of Duty gets added to that, right? You got the newest Call of Duty. You got access to play online. You have 100 other different flavors to choose from, and then you have a console at its budget rate that's capable of upscaling to 1440p and giving you a 60 FPS performance across certain games. That is huge. That's a
I don't think
huge.
people necessarily, I don't think the consumers really care about that though, because they have that right now, not Call of Duty yet, but that hasn't increased their console sales drastically. Like I'll give you an example too. Like imagine if Xbox Game Pass was the exact same way but on the PlayStation. Do you guys think that PlayStation subs, or no, PS Now was the exact same as Game Pass? I believe that PS Now will have a lot more subs because they sell a lot more consoles.
I
And the whole point is to get people to buy a console, or but then when you try to get it on PC, it's like, okay, people have options. You got Epic, you got Steam, you have other options that aren't just Xbox Game Pass. People are going to buy COD regardless.
Yeah, but
It
see,
can be,
that's one of the
yeah.
issues that I'm personally having with PlayStation ecosystem as a whole. I do love a lot of PlayStation games, but what I have always saw it as, okay, I get God of War, I beat it, I put it down, I'm never gonna touch it again. Ever again. I get Last of Us, I beat it, put it down, I'm never gonna touch it ever again. But when I have Game Pass that's allowing me to try out hundreds of different games comfortably, and I can play them as much as I want until they get recycled out, like the service that they already promoted, it draws me closer to the console. So I feel like, yeah, if PlayStation did have a Game Pass where it was day and date, the Last of Us 3 that they were talking about, whatever that comes out, and it's day and date on PlayStation Now, and I can download it, and it's not being streamed, and all PlayStation exclusives were like that, yeah, I'd be a little more intrigued in the ecosystem, because I like to try out different games personally. I
Okay.
don't like to just buy the game and then put it down. And as for like what you were saying earlier, M7, about the market in Japan, I believe that's why they hired. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It was Mina Kato or Mina Kato. I believe that was the whole purpose of
Right.
bringing her over to the Xbox family as well. So
Yeah,
this.
that is what is so vexing about all this. It's so confusing because they have been like getting the hires. They finally got Final Fantasy 14. They
Yeah,
finally have the Square Enix in their developer direct. They finally have like Japanese exclusives, dude. Literally, we have Japanese Hi-Fi Rush, Pal World. Boom. You want to
Yeah.
port them as you want to immediately port them to other consoles. Makes
That's what,
zero
like, be
sense
a
in my
little
opinion.
patient.
Zero
They need to
sense.
be a little patient because they're
Yeah,
building up
absolutely.
the catalog where you can't deny Xbox anymore. You can't deny that they have games anymore.
Yeah, like
But
literally, like they
yeah,
were finally making strides, dude. Like they were finally making significant strides. They finally had the content, and boom, like let's port it because money and bonuses and profitability. And the dude who makes like super long tweets and stays and saying the profitability, blah 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 blah, like whatever. Anyways, Alucard, you go. It's your turn, and then the other dude, the samurai dude.
Oh, so I don't really have much to add. You guys pretty much covered everything. I just wanted to say last thing before I go. Pretty much my stance on it. I'm pretty much invested in the Xbox long term already. Like my digital library is just so big on this console, across physical and digital. They kind of got me by the balls. I don't know if I could just up and leave them, go to PlayStation. But as long as Game Pass is around and it's still cheap, man, you know, I got 3 kids, a mortgage and shit. I'm probably just gonna stick with them. I don't really have any other choice.
That sounded like when someone's got kids and they're in a relationship, they don't
Yeah,
want to.
like it's
Yeah,
fucking.
yeah,
I
dude.
can't afford to be fucking spending 70 times 10 a year on
Yeah, dude.
games
Yeah,
anymore.
dude. Yeah, Phil's got you by the balls, dude. Good.
Yeah,
You
he
deserve
always
it, to be
has.
honest.
But I mean, as a JRPG fan on Xbox, I'm kind of used to disappointment. So I mean, if they want to put shit
Let's
over on
go.
PlayStation, man, they
I
can.
feel you, man. I feel you.
Might as
Let's
well go
go.
ahead.
I get made
That's
fun
it.
of all the time, bro. I want Final Fantasy. I want Final Fantasy 16, bro. I want that shit.
Let's go.
Yeah, shit.
It'll
Let's
come.
pour
It'll
back
come,
more,
man.
dude.
It'll come.
It's
It'll
crazy to me.
it'll definitely come now. Now that like we're porting our games everywhere, that's definitely going to increase our chances of getting these games here. Anyways, the samurai dude, Ninzolo or whatever.
Yeah, how's it going? Apologies in advance if you can't understand me. I'm from Scotland, so I think for me, just listening to you guys this morning, the biggest issue for me as a multi-platform gamer is the fact that Xbox messaging is so mixed. The fact they won't come out and respond to these constant rumors, and I mean the amount of people throwing their shit in the trash this morning. Apologies for my swearing. Um, Over these rumors is insane. Where is PR? Where is the response? It's just crazy. I mean, I use my Xbox mainly for exclusives. My PS5 is my main platform. And I think they really need to get ahead of this. I think one of you guys mentioned a few moments ago that Game Pass is like a great subscription, and it is, but it needs the quality behind it. I'm not saying all the games are trash, but there's a very select few good games I could name from the last maybe 18 months that I have played. And I think in the UK, certainly, and maybe in Europe, I don't know, they need to get their messaging together because I think, again, someone mentioned all the ads I see are PlayStation, almost nothing, excuse me, for Xbox, and it's very, very limited. So, yeah.
To be fair, they are trying because I signed up for BT Infinity. Anyone not from the UK won't know, but it's basically our most popular internet service provider, like within the whole country. And when I signed up, they actually gave me 6 months of Game Pass free. And if I went for the higher tier, they would have given me a year free. And then I went to Greg's a few days back, and they had a Game Pass poster in Greg's as well. And if you don't know, Greg's is like the most popular, I don't know, working class kind of good, quick pick me up food. So they are. I think there are pockets of it, but yeah, maybe in terms of like media, TV, cinema, film, there's not as much of it.
All right, Game Pass Tracker, bro. Teach us, preach us, man. Tell us.
I actually don't have much to say back to what those two just talked about. I pretty much agree with that. Yeah, no, nothing.
Let's
Nothing
go.
at this moment.
Anybody has anything else to add? Amit, go for it.
I did want to add just an interesting thing that I noticed when I was working in sales, uh, particularly when people were coming into the store to look at products. When I would talk to them about the Xbox console, I've noticed just the interest of a casual person coming in to buy a video game console, right? For some people that I spoke to, it was their first console. For some people, they were buying it for their kids, and the talking points were very interesting, right? But what I noticed always worked most times was when I spoke to them about the Xbox with Game Pass. And I say that to say that they have to coexist. They have to. They have to. When I was able to talk to customers, the first thing some people would ask is, okay, well, how much is the subscription service? And then I'd explain to them the price. And then other times, the customers would come in and they'd say, "Well, are there kid-friendly games on Game Pass?" The idea of having a lot of games on it sounds good, but are there kid-friendly games on Game Pass that my kid can play? Or, oh, do exclusives come to Game Pass? And in having those conversations with customers in store, I noticed people would lean more towards buying the console after I spoke to them about Game Pass as a bundle, as opposed to them just coming in to buy an Xbox by itself and not educating them about the ecosystem. So it was just something that I noticed, being in store, and I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, man. All right, like there's a beard guy dude that's called Your Guy Nix or whatever. Go for it, man.
Yeah, a lot of the sky is falling today in a lot of realms, right? Like that's just kind of like the temperature, whatever, waiting for the other shoe to fall. I think very simply put, it's just this, and I've said this earlier, and I'll say it again, that they told us, right? They told us, hey, we want to go where you play at. We're bringing the games to you, wherever you are. And we saw that with the cell phones, right? Tablets, TVs, PC, wherever. But their messaging was clear on that. The other side of that is very simply this. Go back to 2013. The Sony patent that they used for the digital trade-in, physical, pseudo, 24-hour check-in, all that, and everybody bashed it. So Sony kind of said, "Oh, pull the camera out. We're not going to do that." So we can say, "Here's how you share a game." Master move business wise. Master move business wise in that wheelhouse. Cool. Boom. You flip forward. Then you get to from 2013 to 2017, 18. The Kotakus of the world, the IGNs of the world, the Eurogamers of the world, so on and so forth, put out articles like, I know we bashed that stuff. However, Microsoft was right. Digital is the future. We know now, even though it didn't matter, from 13 to 17, 18, what the market was and whatever, right? But thought, hey, actually, we're looking at digital and how things are working. They were right because Microsoft's very much of a company slash Xbox of, hey, this is what it is. We'll drag you along. Go back to the original Xbox. They want to put the 360 out ahead, a full year ahead of Nintendo and PlayStation, and they just cut off the Xbox, OG Xbox, that is, content. We're done here, 360 done, right? That's how they operate. But that's caused them issues. So right now, as everybody's saying, well, there's things out here, they're floating. The first party, maybe PlayStation. Is it high? Is it Rush? Is it Starfield? All these are happening. They're not saying nothing. Yeah, they learned their lesson because when they do say something, they get bashed, good or bad. I'm not here to decipher good or bad, but I think right now they're letting things happen. They're looking at it and they're moving forward because I've done that. But ultimately, and I'll land my plane here. Gaming is much different than it was 10 years ago. It's much different than 20 years ago, so on and so forth. Sony at the end of the day should be day and date on PC. It's just money. They're businesses. Brand loyalty, all these things, plastic you love. I own all of it. I main on Xbox, but I have a PS5, I have an OLED, Switch OLED, the whole nine, right? That's where I'm at. And I think everybody in this group is much different than your casual market. Bought a game store for over 14 years. You know what people come in to get? Madden, 2K, Call of Duty. They don't care about the rest of the shit and what we're talking about. I'm just being honest with y'all. Ultimately, it's about money. There are businesses in that vein of making money, and one has a little bit older texture that resonates. Sony Land and Nintendo too, right? That's how we came up throughout gaming for us old heads. That is. Xbox is pivoting a different lane. It's not about console sales, this and the third. They already greenlight the next Xbox. They don't care. Buy the Xbox, cool. Don't buy the Xbox, cool. Get the game. That's what they're doing, but that's kind of the future of where we're headed in an all digital world to a certain extent. Best Buy this year, hey, no more physical media. They're not selling that no more. Kind of lets you know where things are headed. So I don't know, man. I get it. You know, from a brand loyalty standpoint, you don't like to see things going this way or that way. Here's my thing: if I got Game Pass, I get it day and date. Right? Cool. If I have it on PlayStation, I have to wait a year or so, and then I pay 70. I mean, what are we talking about? Right? You know, I mean, are people playing MLB more on play? Like, if you have an Xbox, right, and you want to get it on the PlayStation instead. I mean, like, it's just weird stuff in that realm. But it's just business, though. I don't know. That's how I look at it, guys. You know, at the end of the day, it's business. The future of gaming is going to be very different by 2030, and there's a lot of things that are going to change that you're going to be surprised how it changes moving forward. I'll land my plane.
Absolutely, I definitely agree that like things are just changing, and you know, like we might not like it, but you know, we can accept
Yeah,
it.
it's not how we grew up,
However,
Noir.
yeah, but the one thing I will say though about physical, and I am a huge defendant of physical. The reason why I do that is just because, like physical still exists, like in the other platforms, and I think that Xbox by saying, hey, we want to reach 2 billion people, we want to be big, we want to whatever. That if you remove just like all physical media all at once, you're already not making it for everybody. You're already like making it for a certain crowd. Yeah, sure. Like there might be the majority, but you at the same time you're still not welcoming
I
everybody. And
got you.
I think that that's always that's always something that should always be present in an Xbox. Xbox should always be, at least for me, if they're doing it their job right, they should always be welcoming for everybody, always all inclusive. But anyways,
I agree.
a Game Pass tracker and
Yeah.
Ninzalo.
But here's the thing, real
Yeah,
quick. I know, real quick. When's the last
Yeah,
physical copy of a PC game you bought?
of PC game, I've never like I don't know, probably like early 2000s maybe.
So why should there be a different center for console? Like
The
But
reason,
the
PC,
thing
PC
is,
led the way.
people buy console games,
Mhm.
like physical console
yes.
games,
they
just
don't
like
though.
people play on console.
Sure, I agree. I
So
agree. I'm a console guy. I don't like PC personally. It's not for me. I salute to the guys that are PC guys. I'm with you, but we have to
right,
understand PC led the way to where these consoles are headed now. That's
yeah,
all I'm saying.
Sure. I mean,
that's
we'll see.
mm,
We'll see. But I do think that there's still an audience for it, and as long as there's an audience, you're just not offering that option to those audience. You're just alienating that audience. They're just not gonna feel welcome.
that goes to my point of
Yeah.
why push away a certain audience. Like you can have you can cater to every audience without kind of like alienating a
They
core
can't
audience
though,
that's a part of your ecosystem.
because if their
Um,
goal is to get onto the other consoles, because again, it was 600 and something million people on a console, and I believe someone said 30 million consoles out there are series consoles. And then, of course, you have the Xbox Ones, which I imagine are a good chunk too, but not going to make up a good chunk of that 600 something million. I believe it was 630 million. And whenever they're trying to crack a deal with Sony and Nintendo, which is the only reason I would see them doing that right now, especially without good comms with their consumer, especially when they're known for good comms, usually, as of late at least. I feel like the only reason they do that is if they were trying to get their games to more people. Well, I agree, it would be nice to live in a world where everyone got to play the games their way. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that verbiage has been used by Phil Spencer exactly that
X.
way at one point.
Yep.
That said, I do know for a fact that their games are accessible to more people now than they have ever been at any point in the history of time due to their strategy. And not
right.
just through devices, but also from price point. Now, that said, sure, there's some games that are not on Game Pass that are now less accessible to people. And I think that's a fair point to take, at least, that games that are not on Game Pass are now also not on physical and therefore very not accessible to people who A, don't have good internet, and B, just don't want to own games digitally. Like my cousin Mikey, who helped founded Game Pass Tracker, despises digital for some reason, even though 80 some odd% of purchases are digital nowadays, maybe higher now. But I really do just think it's part of their strategy to appease the other console makers because they do make up such a small portion of that console market, like unbelievably small. I don't think people realize just how bad they have been outsold on the console side. That is, I like innovation is born through competition, and
Sure.
Microsoft could have easily thrown in the towel multiple times. They have lots of money though, so instead of throwing in the towel, they decided to innovate, and it led them to the same place that other industries were led when they innovated, which in movies, most people watch their movies via streaming services or something like Vudu or Movies Everywhere. TV shows, streaming services, usually sports, even streaming services, music, streaming services. I mean, it was just a matter of time that that happened for video games as well.
Yeah, I agree. I still think though video games are different than like TV shows and movies.
I agree with that.
Just because of like even the attachment you get to and how much time you spend in a video game. So and real quick, just with the physical and digital thing, like digital games are just able to always be tracked. So that's why it appears like they sell way more than physical copies, but you can't
So
track every physical purchase being made.
I mean,
And then you
they
have
have a very good way
digitally
of
owned
tracking
consoles.
No.
physical games.
You can track physical. As soon as they ship it, it's marked as sold.
Yeah, no, they've been
yeah,
tracking that for a
They've
long,
been
long
tracking that
time.
forever. Yeah,
Wait,
physical.
they've been tracking what forever? Physical?
Physical, yeah.
So
yeah.
if I sell you a physical game right now, can you track that being sold?
It doesn't matter. That's already been sold. Otherwise, you've been sold the game, so it's already been sold from a store to you.
Because you have to remember, as soon as they ship it, whoever orders the game new, that's marked as sold. They're going to give you let's say the game's $59, like for me personally, right? Game's $59, I'm gonna pay about $54 for it, and then but it doesn't matter whenever I sell it, they've already sold it. They've been tracking it that way. The 70
Yeah, but
shout,
what
shout
I'm
to the
saying
70
is that
shout to the $70 games, by the way. I get like actually about $12 off of that, but neither here nor there.
yeah, I'm just saying that like physical games, like let's say the number is 80/20, digital physical. Um, the amount of people that do buy physical games are still higher than that 20%, but you can't track. That's just like, for instance, like with cash, you can't track every time someone gives a
Brother,
person cash,
brother,
but that's not to say
brother.
people don't use
From a used
cash.
look, I don't know, used market, you're absolutely correct. From a used market side, no, there's no way to track that. I
But
agree.
yeah, that's why they're pushing
But the
pushing
new
digital
market,
more and more. It's
right?
it's more for
Well,
the
it's
company,
much
more
more
for sales.
multifaceted than that. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
There's a reason why Sony was packing in physical copies instead of digital codes for a long time because as soon as that system sold with that package, it counted as a sell. Uncharted, Horizon,
Exactly.
whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. And guess what? As I was sitting in the store and I would sell those Uncharted packages, PS3, PS4, I watched people crack that system, pull that game out, and trade it in immediately because they want to Call of Duty or Madden or WWE or whatever. I'm like, bro, this is a really good game. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, you should play this. Like, no, I don't care. I'm trading it in right now. You know what I'm saying? But for Sony, for their exclusive, oh, sold, check mark. Doesn't matter
Right.
if they traded it in immediately and never played it. Check mark.
well, yeah,
Right.
is that Sony does their tracking very differently, and again, like they also bundle their games to boost the
Sure.
sales of their games, and that's cool. I mean, in reality,
But
like
they're
they all have
selling
different.
consoles to be able to do that,
Right.
a lot
Yeah,
of
so
consoles.
they sell a lot of consoles, and that's cool, man. Like I mean, like Microsoft wants to do monthly active users, and actually digital helps that, so that's
Mm.
cool, I
Right.
guess. The thing with me is, I think that Microsoft, at least like what they claim is that we want to make gamers happy, we want everybody to feel like we invested in their console or whatever, but they don't. I mean, like they're
Yeah.
making it very specific. They're like, oh well, you're a physical owner, we might not be for you. Oh well, if you like,
Here, I'll end on this.
or
Has
for
anybody,
example, if they like,
has anybody complained about PC not being physical?
No, I mean, like, yeah,
No,
I mean, well,
But
no.
you have a
I
different mindset of gamer on the PC platform versus people who are very
You think so?
solely
I think I agree.
yeah,
I
because
agree. I
you
agree.
got launchers on
Okay.
PC.
I agree.
You know what I
I agree.
mean?
No, I agree. I agree. I agree. There's a big divide on that at one point. I think more so than ever, when you talk about PS5 owner, you talk to a Switch owner, you talk to an Xbox owner,
but
it's almost like I got a PC as well.
yeah, but dude, like
But it's
there's a
different. But
difference.
it's different though for sure. I agree. It's
It's
different for
different,
sure.
and the reason why it's very different is because PC is an open-ended like device. Like on PC,
Right.
you can have gaming preservation because you literally cannot act. You can literally access any kind of operating
Facts.
system
Facts.
and
Right.
like and
Linux.
get games whatever
Yep.
way. Like
I agree.
instead, like with console games, like you lose them forever because it's a locked device. You cannot access games from other types of like
Right.
sources within a console. So that's kind of the problem. But anyways, I
That's
mean,
why I think it's a problem with Xbox telling people to go on PC, because when you force people to go on PC, or when you tell them that, you open Pandora's box per se
exactly.
to like explore other options. You know, you may find it, well, I like using Steam or
That's
Epic
good
Launcher
though.
more, or
That's
maybe I
that's
don't
good
even
for
want
the
to pay for the
consumer.
game. Maybe I can emulate or whatever, pirate, whatever. Like that's a
Exactly.
real thing.
I agree.
So
I agree. They
I don't.
absolutely lose.
Yeah,
They absolutely undermine their own software and their own like hardware by sending people. I mean, sure, you're still using a Windows PC. Cool, that's fine. But you're definitely losing a lot of the revenue you could potentially make because people might go to other market fronts or storefronts,
It's
and that's why
right.
we're here.
Wait. Where do they lose the money at?
I mean, because
if you
people go
don't
to
sub
Epic.
to Game Pass, you could
They
just go
might
on
Right.
not. They might not go
Steam.
to
But
Game
but
Pass.
if you
They
buy
might go
but
to
if you
Epic.
buy the game, said publisher wins, right?
The
Yeah,
public.
and also they go to Windows. Most PC users go to Windows, and what does
Mhm.
Windows have built into it? Nice, real nice nowadays, and that's the
Yep.
Xbox app.
Right.
And
But
so they
everyone,
do map
they're
and
not
predict.
gonna.
They might
Go ahead.
still.
There's a lot of PC gamers or people that play on PC. That doesn't directly equal the amount of Game Pass subscribers there are. The
Absolutely.
Xbox
Yeah.
app
Well, of
comes
course
at
not.
the
There's
Absolutely
bottom
agree.
of every
1.39
install.
billion
Yeah,
PC
absolutely agree
gamers.
there. Absolutely agree there.
So that doesn't guarantee that they're going to sign to Game Pass. It's like,
Of
okay,
course
but
not.
The biggest
and
issue you
then
find
also
is
too,
that
the Xbox app isn't, it's leagues behind Steam, right? So
yeah,
Sure.
I I I I think that when you're only just pushing Game Pass on the Xbox app, some people don't see the value in Game Pass. Some
Well,
people, it's not that valuable to them.
I mean, aren't you
Um,
complaining about something that's inherently consumer friendly for us to have choice?
no. I'm not saying. Look, I'm not against Game Pass. I'm just saying
No, I
that
mean
with
Can I
the
say
act
something
of
when you get a
us
second?
getting on PC.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna get a
What's your
second,
question?
but like let's give some time to Ninzolo and then to Lazy whatever Lazy
Yeah,
Gamer.
I was just
So
gonna comment on the
Ninzolo and
PC
then
part,
Lazy.
but go ahead.
This guy had a question about. I
Oh,
wasn't.
all I was gonna say is, sorry, I didn't know who you were saying to go ahead to. Sorry, but
Uh,
yeah, no, I was saying that isn't it inherently good that when a user goes to PC, that they do have a bunch of launchers to choose from, and it's not
Well,
our problem
but
to
then
worry
that
about
that,
whether Xbox captures
no
those
that
users or not?
I
we're
disagree. That
speaking on
no
Xbox
no
though.
no I
Sure, we
disagree.
are.
That contradicts what you're saying because on console you're actually removing an option as well, which is like physical. Oh, so you it's fine to remove options on console, but on PC, oh, it's
I
great
didn't
to
say
have
it was
options.
fine at all. I was just
That's my
explaining why
point.
that's
The
happening.
Just to your
Anyways,
question, the point that I'm making is, and I'm just going to use PlayStation as an example. When PlayStation promotes anything with what they're doing, you have to be, unfortunately, which is what it is, you have to go to their ecosystem, which is their PlayStation. But whenever Xbox, it was a stretch, I think, last year that every time they tweeted something, it was primarily like PC Game Pass, PC Game Pass, PC Game Pass. And what you do with that, okay, like it's a subscription service. So it's you sign up for a month maybe, but Epic gives away free games. Steam has a big, great community on Steam. What I'm saying is you're opening the door to pushing people more and more away from your platform, hoping that they just stick with a subscription service.
Yes, and
Well, you
that's
can't
why.
go
I mean,
on PC, Xbox, and access your Xbox console library. If
absolutely,
they
Well, no, hold
figure
on.
that out,
Can I
you
speak on
got
that?
something. Yeah.
and that's why we're here. That's exactly why we're here. That's why we're in the position we are, because in reality, like, they have undermined their own ecosystem so much that, like,
Okay.
literally it just doesn't make enough money. Like, for them, it's just that's
Can I comment on what you guys have been saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, Ninzolo and Lazy Gamer. I'm sorry, M7. I think you had enough time. Okay, Ninzolo, Lazy Gamer, go.
Okay. For me, I think the biggest thing is, I think someone mentioned it earlier, was the whole thing around education. I mean, I worked in phone sales for many years, and for years Microsoft tried to push Windows Phone. They literally threw money at us as salespeople to push these phones, and no matter how much education you gave the average customer, they were not interested. They were sold on those systems, and my big issue is, I feel like that, I think, as one of you guys mentioned, that if what's being said is true, they're effectively throwing the towel in and just saying, again, we're just abandoning ship. And they can't do that for me because, as you guys mentioned, some people have invested hundreds, thousands of hours of pounds, dollars, euros, whatever, into these systems. They've got the money to bankroll it. They just need to come up with better content. They just need to put the time, effort in. And I think there's obviously rumours of new consoles, mobile platforms coming. They really need to get ahead of this and just come out and say, with a clear message to everyone, here's where our thinking is, here's where our plans are going forward. Don't panic, because based on this space alone, they're going to lose an absolute ton of hardcore users. I mean, I saw last night personally at least about 8 big Xbox accounts saying, you know what, I'm done, I'm out of this. And again, that's just due to lack of education, lack of clear messaging. I really feel they need to get around this quick.
All right, man. Thank you, Lazy Gamer. Lazy Gamer has been wanting to, like, say something.
No. So I'll just comment on what they're saying before. So, for example, I grew up playing mostly other consoles. My stepsister worked at Babbage's, which I guess became GameStop and stuff later, right? So I played a lot of games there. Then there was a lapse around the time the Xbox One came out, or I'm sorry, the initial Xbox and 360. So I left gaming, came back around, say, PS4 mostly, and the 360. Last generation, I was almost completely, utterly on PS4. I had played PC back in the day. The reason I am now a primary PC person is explicitly because of Game Pass. In 2018, I started playing Yakuza and other games that are on that platform, which drew me into the Xbox ecosystem. Before that, I'd never played a Halo. I never played a Gears. I got exposed as a customer by them supporting PC. That led me to switch off of PlayStation onto PC. So for me, it made that sense. And then what I do now, my son, I don't own an Xbox. My son, when he goes to his mother's house, they have a Series X because I have Game Pass. I put my account as a secondary, has access to that. My kids can use Xboxes, even though I primarily use PC because I can get the subscription. Like, for example, I use the Xbox app to download Power Worlds, and I buy games for him and have it download to his thing to where he's using the Xbox, even if I'm not, and I use the subscription for that. And I only brought that up because people only look at the way PC is taking people off of Xbox, but they always just ignore, like, there's not any additive benefit to it.
Yep.
Yeah, and just I'm only going to say one thing, and then I probably won't say much else tonight. One of the things I said earlier is that we're just speculating with very little to go on, while these companies, and Microsoft's one of the largest companies in the world, they are looking at data sets that we don't have access to when making these decisions, while we're speculating and just kind of giving it our best guess.
Yeah. And I mean, look, they're looking at it, not the Xbox lane of Microsoft, right? But Microsoft in general. No disrespect to Sony or Nintendo. There's none at all, right? They don't look at them as their competition, how they operate. It's the Apples of the world, it's the Googles of the world, those things and how they operate. So when you hear these kind of things that's speculative right now, then spring they'll speak, whatever, so on and so forth. But how they're operating and moving is at a different frequency than what we would consider to be gaming for us a long term. The other side of that too, for me at least, and is simply this: casual versus like there's like right, it's 3:32 Texas time right now. Here we are. We're talking about everything when it pertains to gaming. We are in a niche market. We are. We love it. We're into it. We breathe it. You know what I'm saying? We live it. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. The casual market dictates everything. That's what matters to them, to even Sony, Nintendo, casual market, because that's what makes up the biggest portion of gaming, not the hardcore, quote unquote, gamer. In their business, they're trying to get the most amount of money. We'll see wherever this announcement is and what they do and everything else. But at the end of the day, if you're playing a game on your preferred platform, do you care where it goes? Honestly, like we got to be honest, right? I get it. Like we have this, we can hold it over the other side. That yes, there was a point in time. I was in school and everything. Nintendo versus Sega, those things. I get it, man. That's just not the market no more, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but to me, that's just not the market anymore. I don't care where I watch a movie on streaming. I don't care where I listen to Spotify, Apple Music, whatever the case. Like it doesn't matter. Are you getting it or not? If you're getting it, that's all they care about because that's the money and the revenue that they're getting. Now that might not be our personal preference of things and want to say and talk about stuff from our preferred brands, and I understand that. But ultimately, man, there's people that don't care about the conversations we're having right now. The majority of the gaming industry, I'm talking about the users, not in the industry. Man, hey, new man's coming out, new college football, new whatever, yeah, 2K, WWE. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get that. Sony has carved a lane of being the Apple, if you will, of gaming in that realm. And cool. FOMO, play with your friends, do whatever. As cross-platform is bigger than ever. I was play Call of Duty not with we had 6 people in there. Xbox, yes, that's where I was. With some other people on Xbox, PC, PlayStation. We were all linked and playing. There's a big difference in that now because of how that works. But play and you can play with whoever you want to than it was even last generation. And I think that's maybe a missing point there too.
All right, man. Thanks, man. All right, Karim, and then Wild Arcanine, and then Ahmed.
Hey, yeah, it's Kareem. I just wanted to say I'm gonna head out. It's 4:30 a.m. in New York. Thank you guys for having me. This was an amazing space, and much love to you all. Have a good one. Good night, guys.
Right back
Thank you
at
for
you.
having me.
You're awesome, bro. Thank you. All right, Wild Arcanine, preach.
So I do agree with one thing that Nick said. PlayStation pretty much has become kind of like the Apple of gaming, whereas like you can kind of view Xbox as Android, more or less. Like when you think about games, when you see games on TV, you'll most likely see PlayStation. You'll see their big flash of on PlayStation, play on PlayStation. You'll see that for Xbox too, but for the most part, when you're thinking about people who buy games and such, it's always going to be like, I'm going to get PlayStation because, that's just kind of brand recognition. Xbox has that too, but it's exactly like he said, like it's Apple of gaming. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was kind of like going back to the whole removal of physical media and such, and kind of going into the cloud gaming, where it's definitely kind of far from now. Thinking about where it was when it started to where it is now, it's definitely leagues. And when you think about technology, technology leaps like in large strides every 6 months or so. Like a 4090 is great now. 6 months from now, it's going to be what, 5010 or whatever it might be from now. And I think with cloud gaming, the reason Xbox really wants to push digital is just because, like, for me, I haven't bought a digital game since 2013, so the start of Xbox One. And I know there are those people that like to collect physical media and such, and that's somebody that they might alienate. But at the same time, you still have those game creators and developers that will create those special editions that release for people that want to be like the ones that collect those things. Maybe it won't be box art, but you know, like God of War, you'll get your hammer, or Halo, you'll get the up and coming Master Chief helmet and such like that. And I think that's what's going to keep physical alive and not so much the box art, which we can just get posters for that, which feel a bit better. Maybe not that whole nostalgic feel of like early 2000s seeing a giant disc or a game wall of video games, but I think it still might live, just not in the way that we're used to. And I feel like a nostalgia is what's making us feel like Xbox is disconnecting from what we love and think about as gaming. But kind of like how Nick's also said, when you go into a game store, you're going to hear them buy FIFA, you're going to hear them buy Call of Duty, you're going to hear them buy the usual, you know, push in hardware of typical gaming. But
All right. Okay, I'm gonna give some time to Ninzolo and Ahmed, but before I do, one
gotcha.
one thing I wanted to something I've been hearing a lot from Xbox fans that I think I'm kind of on the negative side. I kind of don't agree with it. Is that a lot of them like keep using the word innovation, like oh they have to try something different, they have to make it different, and I understand all of that. I think there's a lot of truth to that, but the innovation, I think what to me what innovation means in my head is it brings solutions. It makes things easier. Something that to me is innovative is the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch, like like the whole conundrum that Nintendo had was like they had a Game Boy or a Nintendo DS and a console, and they were kind of competing with each other. By doing the Switch, you kind of solved those. That thing was so innovative that Steam, Rogue Ally, and others are trying to like jump into that market. They've seen that hybrid model. That is innovation. That to me is innovation. I think that Xbox has been doing some things that, like Game Pass, you could say it's innovative. I've seen people trying that. Some people disagree. Some other companies disagree with that model. But I think that innovation should make things simpler and mix messages and complexity and confusing your customers and not having an idea as to what to expect. And those things to me are not innovation. To me, those things are just trying to shoot everywhere and not really adding anything. I don't
Yeah.
think people are gonna. I don't think that is gonna stick with anybody. I don't think anybody's gonna try to copy that. I think they need to get something straight and commit to it, and for that to actually be copied by others to really call it innovation. So I don't think that they're actually succeeding. They're trying to look for innovation, but I don't think they're succeeding in that
Do you
regard.
do
I
you
mean,
do
And
you wait. First and foremost, the Sega Nomad says hi to the Switch, by the way. If you know, you know. That's number one. Number two, though, did we not just see Sony completely redo their whole stats on PlayStation Plus and the different tiers and everything?
they're
Foam
not
Stars
doing.
going over there.
They're not doing day and date. They still
No,
disagree.
Foam Star. Foam Stars. That's day and date.
Nope, nope. They're still in full
Nah.
disagreement with their first party. They're
I
full in
I
full
get you,
disagreement.
but it's still exclusive, whatever. But again, they still shuffled what they were doing with their streaming services. They
I
did
mean,
that.
but again, to your point, and what I was agreeing is that maybe Game Pass is what is kind of sticking around.
Mhm.
It's kind of there. I think it's what you would you say it's the closest thing to innovation. But I do think
Okay,
that if they do
I got you.
this weird like
Right.
model of like some third party, some exclusives, sometime exclusives, live services might, smaller games don't like that. That's not that to me is just like you're just confused. You don't really know what you're
well,
doing.
it's
I
by
think that creates more problems and more confusion than solutions and
I think they
simplicity.
could definitely communicate better, but I don't think many things in the world are all black or all white. I mean, but by definition, it's innovating because they're basically it's the process of creating, introducing, and applying new ideas to products and services or methods. And that's exactly what they've done, and they had to because 2013 to 2020 they just lost their ass uh, because of how they opened that generation. I mean, that the opening of 2013 was that bad to where they literally had to spend that entire generation making a plan to reshape the industry. And it's honestly probably would have went there either way, whether it was them or someone else over time. But I don't think the market. I think they're too early for the market. Not as early as Mark Zuckerberg was with Meta. Not that bad, but still too early for the market. But it's definitely innovative. I mean, they just need to communicate better in many ways. That I can't agree with.
Yeah, I mean, you're selling a product to mothers and parents that are gonna sell the product that they're gonna give their kids on birthdays, man, on Christmas. It needs to be simple. It needs to be clear. It needs to
Yeah.
be attractive, and it cannot come with like, well, they like you don't need to have like a YouTube video or like a tutorial on mergers and acquisitions or oh yeah, well, it's that they acquired Activision, so it kind of is, and this and that. Like you that shouldn't be a thing. The messaging should be clear. Okay, this is what we offer, and this is how you can use it. And it's simple and it's clear and it's attractive. That to me, when they hit that, is when they are really going to blow up. I think a lot of their problem, as we all are in agreement, is messaging, marketing, their own model, like literally like journalists like Jazz to Tom Warren to others, they can't figure out what is the end goal here. If they can't do it, and like customer and like Xbox fans cannot like decide on like a clear version as to what their ultimate goal is, then like how is the consumer, how is the parent gonna figure it out? Like nobody will. So they really need to like fix that. They really need to bring more simplicity, make it clear, make it easy to use, make it intuitive. That's what they need to do. I think first thing, they need to decide that. Until they do that, I don't see their product sticking because I don't think companies like that.
I would jump in there. I would definitely agree with what you're saying, and I think it's clear when you look at PlayStation in comparison with what they've launched with the extra and premium. I mean, I've got extra. I personally think it's trash in comparison to Game Pass. I don't use it, and I will be downgrading. I think the market's definitely at a crossroads where no one really seems 100% sure. They're all making bets. Where will the market go? And this is kind of the stage, as you say, that Xbox was in like 2014, 2015, where they've made the mess that was the Xbox One. I mean, I had one myself and sold it within about 6 months and bought a PS4. And that's where they lost, as we all know, a lot of fans. And they really need to try and stick with it. I mean, they need to get in front of this messaging, as I said earlier, because I believe they have the right strategy. They just need to get simplistic pricing, because how many options have they got in Game Pass? Is it 3 or 4? And that new one they added is just nonsense. The fact that you can't do certain things with it, what is it, Game Pass Essentials or whatever it is, nonsense. And they really need to narrow it down to here's 2 options, because even PlayStation seeing the confusion messaging with their 3 options, Premium in particular has an absolute disaster on PlayStation in the way they message it. Oh, here's some PlayStation 1 games, couldn't care less, and a couple of extra trials. I mean, to then charge 40, £50, dollars, euros extra a year is just silly. And I think that's where Microsoft are also going wrong, is they need to, as you mentioned there, Noah, they need to simplify those options big time.
Thank you, man. I think Ahmed wants to say something.
Yep. So quickly, I did want to say thank you to both of you, Noir and Tim, for hosting this space and having me up here as well. It's been a great space, and I've had a good time having a conversation with all of you guys up here. It's been a lot of fun. And I just want to say this last point that I have, and then I'm gonna head out for the night. Um, with Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, we all know that Nintendo console sales, they do great. We know PlayStation console sales, they do great. Now, there's all this news coming around with Xbox. People are nervous. Some people are unsure, uncertain, and we all know from a business standpoint, the last thing you want is your consumers, your customers, whatever you want to call it, to be, feeling unsettled. No, you never want your customers to feel like that. And I believe, and I know a lot of people may not agree, but I strongly believe that the solution for what they're trying to achieve is, I believe, if they put the games, some games at least, third party. I know many may not agree, but I think it's a very good thing for both the console and the subscription as a whole. And a consolidated uh, ecosystem for the brand, as simple as possible. It doesn't need to have so many different names. You just if you ask me, I'd say, dude, just go back to Xbox Live and then Xbox Live Ultimate. If you have Xbox Live, that's it. You can play games online. You get Xbox Ultimate. These are the perks that come with, all the things that are part of Game Pass. Just maybe not exactly like that, but as simplified as possible to Noir's point would help a lot. Same with the console name. Don't just move away. You know why PlayStation does so well? Because look at what they did. They had a PS3, and then what did they do? The marketing came out for the PS4. They just changed one number. The marketing came out for the PS5. They changed one number. The font, everything stood exactly the same. They just changed a single number, and they blow the sales out the water. Perfectly
Exactly.
fine.
Exactly.
So I think a consolidated, simplified ecosystem for the brand, it needs a complete rebrand as simple as possible from the system to the subscription-based services, along with putting the games third party. Knowing that Nintendo and PlayStation won't do that, and if they do, it's going to go to a Windows PC anyway. I think that is the solution for Xbox's chaos overall. And all the confusion, I just think that's the solution for everything. And thanks again, guys.
Thanks, brother. All right, so we're gonna give time to your guy Nix, then Ninzolo, and back to the 5,000 words tweets guy, and then Wild Arcanine.
Man, appreciate everybody in the building. Appreciate all the different takes and everything, man. This is what makes it fun, right? Within the industry. Shout out to Noir, TimDog, M7 who's up here talking earlier. Just everybody in general, right? Let me give that shout out real quick. I think ultimately, gaming is evolving in a very different realm that we've never experienced before. I'm a guy who's 45 and I've kind of seen it all, right? And we're a year away. Atari, whatever, we understand the death, the whole nine. Nintendo showed up at 85, did their thing. We're a year away from a 40, 40 years, right, of video gaming. So in a weird way, it's the infancy when you talk about other mediums of entertainment, comic books, movies, music, infancy, right? When you kind of line it up that way when it comes to gaming. I think it's been a radical change because of what we have at the forefront, whether it's cell phones, tablets, internet, those different things. And at the end of the day, these are companies trying to make money. And we'll react, we'll move forward, and you'll go and play where you want to. That's a great thing. The more choices we have as consumers, it's better for us consumers. Period. You want the competition to drive gaming to be better for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I think it's just kind of the beginning of things. I think gaming is going to be radically different between now and 2030. That's what I believe. We'll let it play out and see what happens. But man, salute to everybody in the building, man. Hey, and as we were talking about the Switch, and I said shout out to the Sega Nomad says hi for the Switch. You know what? Game Pass, shout out to the Sega channel as well too. That old Sega was really ahead of the curve in those early '90s, wasn't they? Neither here nor there. Y'all be safe and be blessed, man. Game on, if you will.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
brother. Thanks, brother. So who was next? I think it was. Dang, I forgot who was next. Anyways, Wild Arcanine, and then 5,000 words tweets guy.
Gotcha. I was kind of piggyback off of what Ahmed said with kind of making things more concise and clear through Xbox. One way I think they could do that is definitely dropping the Series S part, the secondary console that's less powerful but an easier buy-in. I've always felt just, with the Series X, you could have had the most powerful console. But with the parity issue, you've shot yourself in the foot where it can never be as powerful as it needs to be because it has to pair with a lesser form of itself. And on top of that, say they got rid of consoles. I feel that whole xCloud thing is kind of pushing toward an idea where why have to always upgrade your system every couple of years? Or, in this case, I think they're thinking about going 6 years to upgrade. Why do that when they can provide you the top of the line, the best of the best, so long as they have the infrastructure and ability to make that what it can be? And I feel like it's getting pretty close there. Because back in 2020, I saw a guy playing Warframe off of his iPhone through xCloud, and I thought that was pretty damn amazing. He didn't have like a Steam Deck, Steam Deck didn't exist or anything like that back then, but seeing that play out the way that it could and not have to be any brand specific thing, I think that's Xbox's image, that they want you to be able to play anywhere, not specifically say on PlayStation or Nintendo, but anywhere and everywhere that you can afford on what's capable. That's pretty much all that I wanted to say.
Thanks, man. All right, next guy, and then Ninzalo.
Is it me next? Is it 5,000
Yeah,
thesis word nib GPT next? Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I was just gonna do a nib GPT voice note on digital because someone mentioned something. I think it was Game Pass Tracker, Garrett. So digital is obviously the lion's share, but there is actually a bit of a misconception. So when we hear like 80-90% of all sales are digital, that it is true, but oftentimes it's comparing digital releases that were never released on physical. So it kind of skews the percentage. So obviously, DLC expansions, things like that, if they never release on physical, then you will get a skew towards digital. If you look at games released both physically and digitally, the skew is very different. I think it's 60 something percent is digital. And there's a few people who, for example, Christopher Dring, who covers GSD data, he's actually given us a breakdown of what it is per platform. And digital is more inherently an Xbox thing. So he said on Xbox, on average, across all releases that have both physical and digital release, Xbox is 70 to 75%, PlayStation is 55 to 60%, and Nintendo is a minority. He didn't say the percentage, but the majority of their sales are still physical. But what's more interesting is the Insomniac hack or leak or whatever. It actually gave us a very, very detailed breakdown of PlayStation first party sales by the unit and divided by unit revenue and physical and digital data. And we can actually see from that data in fiscal year 21, in fiscal year 22, and fiscal year 20, actually physical, they had a higher percentage of physical sales of first party games than they did digital by quite a big margin, actually. But what the data also showed is that live service games and sports games, multi platform games, those are the kind of games that have a really high digital split. So they, again, Call of Duty, the FIFAs, they're kind of splitting, they're
Yeah, your main
pushing.
lines.
Yeah, they're kind of skewing the margins, but actually, PlayStation and Nintendo, their first party offerings are still predominantly physical based on the actual data.
And
I
that
was going
makes
to make it,
sense.
yeah, I was going to make a tweet including all the data, but I was just waiting on 2023 physical data and physical digital data splits before I made it. But interestingly, there's a few points that have been made about how there was a digital slowdown in 2023 and a physical uptick. For example, in
I
October,
agree.
yeah, in
Yeah,
October,
it was bound to
uh,
plateau for a second.
yeah, digital sales in October were down in the UK. I don't know about the rest of the world. Sorry, not in UK, in Europe, down 24% year on year, and physical sales were up 8% year on year. So I did think that is interesting. I think as people are feeling the crunch from inflation, from gas prices, electricity, this and that, everything else, they are moving towards physical more because they have that flexibility of being able to resell, sell, trade, lend, etc.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
it makes
I
sense
agree.
that
Guys, I just
Xbox is doing mostly digital because, after all, they have Game Pass so integrated into their ecosystem
Exactly,
to where
exactly.
people are used to doing digital a lot more, probably, on the Xbox platform. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
guys, I just wanted to let you guys know, awesome job. I'm going to be cutting this off in about 10 minutes, so Noor, just keep that in mind. 5:05 or whatever, wherever you're from, we're going to be cutting it off. So just go on. If I didn't get to you guys, sorry. Next time, just DM me. I'll put you in for. I'll put you. I'll fast track you. But
I'm
great
glad that
job.
you're awake, dude. I literally thought that you had left me alone here, but I'm glad that you're still here.
No,
All
I
right,
was
man.
I was I was doing stuff, but great job, Nora. I just want to let's just cut this short. I owe you one, Nora. I'll take care of you.
Yeah, you do, man. You definitely do. All right, man. Ninzolo, and yeah,
great
let's just start wrapping it up. Thank you,
great
guys.
job.
Okay,
Get you some
thanks
coins.
again for including me tonight. I appreciate that, especially it's not often you hear a Scottish voice on these things. So, coming back to what you guys were talking about a second ago, I think physical media still has to live on because I don't know why, for example, PlayStation have never been looked into. I mean, a couple of years back, they got rid of the option to buy codes from anyone but Sony. You literally have no option now, basically, but to suffer their pricing. So I mean, I think it was even discussed by developers recently that they have very little to no influence on digital pricing and when their games go on sale. The regulation that Microsoft has faced, should Sony and other companies not face this same level of investigation and regulation? I feel like because Microsoft are the behemoth that they are, that they seem to get very much focused on. Meanwhile, Sony, Nintendo, everyone else kind of gets left alone. So, what's your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think that these other companies should see the same level of regulation, especially around digital pricing? Because as you just mentioned a moment ago, more people are choosing physical. The reason, certainly in the UK, is physical is so much cheaper than digital. I mean, some games when they launch are maybe 50, £60. On digital, they can be 70 or 80. So the gap is massive. And do you not think we should see a level of regulation? That's probably my question.
Okay, Campus Tracker, take it.
Yeah, I was going to say I completely agree with that, despite earlier comments about why digital's doing what it's doing. I mean, the price is like probably the price and being able to share with friends, and overall just being able to use it on a reseller's market, whether it is the shitty prices they give you at GameStop or eBay, Craigslist, you name it. Um, I think they should definitely be putting into place regulations to protect consumers from losing out on what is essentially a huge part of the industry and a big part of our history, at least mine, where I used to go to GameStops for midnight releases back before COVID happened. Now they don't do those, but far and few between, and they happen at 10 p.m. instead of midnight. But um, I don't think they will though. I think they're going to kind of let that slide by overall. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to come up as something important on the radar of the politicians who are being lobbied by the companies you're speaking of.
Excellent. Anyways, guys, does anybody have any closing remarks? I personally, I'm on the fence. I think we can all conclude, and from the sentiments that we've heard for the past couple of hours, is that in general, like if Xbox starts like porting their first party games on competing platforms, it really just contradicts and confuses. I think it's just gonna create a lot more confusion on what their strategy is. And I personally don't think that's a good thing. But uh, there is the other end of the discussion is that they after all they're a business and they know what they're doing, their profitability, their projections, and whatever. This probably works better for them. I don't know. Well, I guess time will tell us. But I think personally, um, I'm on the opposition. I don't think that this is a good thing. I personally think that this is going to do a lot more damage to the brand and bring, yeah, like it's going to bring more problems than solutions. But I guess time will tell us, man. God help us all tomorrow. I mean, or this week. They can't hide forever. Executives have to come out of their shell or wherever they're hiding, and talk to us, address their fan base, and present the roadmap. So whenever that happens, I hope everything turns out for the best. I'm gonna get cooked from both sides, anyways, because I'm gonna be very critical of Xbox, and because I've also been supportive of Xbox. So PlayStation fanboys are gonna make fun of me, and Xbox fanboys are gonna tag me. So it'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Hey, thanks for hosting this back half, Nor.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, really good
You
space, I
guys
think.
did great. Nora, like I said, hit you up in the DM. I'm gonna take care of you for the great job that you've done tonight. Nib, awesome, really great stuff. Very intelligent Game Pass tracker. Damien, everyone that spoke here today. Eagles fans, I'm sorry to get to you. Everyone that's listening. I'm kind of burnt out at the moment. So I don't know what the plan is tomorrow. I do think that they're going to say something probably around 9 o'clock, and we'll probably be outraged. Who knows? I mean, it's absolutely crazy that it's taken this. But this is it looks like this is what their vision is going forward, and I'm not a fan of it. I stated the reason why, the communication, the constant, mismessaging, and the failure to really communicate, and to be in the absolute absurd position that they're in. Listen, I don't know how you could screw this up more than they have. If you wrote it down on paper, I just really just even tonight, just retrospect and thinking, man, maybe they shouldn't even went PC. They should have done a lot of things differently. But here we are, and I appreciate everyone. You guys are awesome. We'll do another podcast. Nor, you're like I said, gonna take care of you, and you're officially the best co-host I've ever had. So that's your job. If you're on, check your DM. Like I said, I'll talk to you later. Great job, guys. Let's cut it. Let's cut it loose, and we'll check Xbox Wire, I guess, at 9 a.m., which is 4 hours from now. If we don't see anything in the next 6 hours, I'd say that you gotta wait until Tuesday. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'm cutting it short now. Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Good night. Cheers.
Night.